Hey, I'm Katie, and today I'm going to share my experience as a student at Harvard University. I'm here to provide a bit of an inside look at Harvard, to share info about classes, extracurriculars, campus, to dispel some myths, and to overall help you to better understand what it's like to go there. Let's get right into it and discuss why I actually chose Harvard in the first place when I was a high school senior. I chose Harvard because it was the best school I got into, but more than that, it was the school that gave me the most generous financial aid package. Financial aid is something that we talk about a lot here at College Vine, but I think one of the most important things for families to recognize is that an expensive sticker price doesn't mean a school is unaffordable. Harvard's tuition and other fees amount to almost $70,000 a year, which is a ton of money. But Harvard also has one of the most generous financial aid programs in the US, which means that a lot of families don't ever see that 70 grand. 20% of families pay nothing for their children to attend Harvard, and more than half, 55% total, receive some scholarship aid. It's also important to note that in the vast majority of cases, that generous financial aid doesn't include loans. So most students, including me, who graduate from Harvard don't have any student debt. So anyway, I chose Harvard in large part because of the attractive finances, but there were many other things about Harvard that I was really interested in and turned out to be some of my favorite parts of my 4 years in Cambridge. So let's walk through each of campus life, academics, and extracurriculars at Harvard. Harvard has a mid-sized campus in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is just a couple of miles outside of the city of Boston. It's definitely a really urban campus. Harvard buildings are dotted throughout the Harvard Square neighborhood of Cambridge. Cambridge is a big city suburb, and it's not a quiet and tranquil campus at all. However, the campus is located alongside the beautiful Charles River, so there is good running and biking trails along the water to experience a kind of cool blend of both nature and the city of Boston. Harvard has really beautiful historic architecture because it's actually the oldest institution of higher education in the United States. It was founded in 1636. There's a lot of wonderful history to experience on campus, whether it's historic Harvard Yard or the dorms where FDR and JFK spent their undergrad years. Freshmen at Harvard eat their meals in Annenberg Hall, which is often compared to the Great Hall in Harry Potter because it looks pretty similar. Harvard calls its majors concentrations, and it's very much a liberal arts school in that concentrations are designed to focus on academic disciplines rather than real-world careers. There are no education, nursing, or business type degrees at Harvard. There are only things like English, economics, and biology. I studied sociology, which is the study of human culture and society. The curriculum at Harvard is designed so that students only take about a third of their total classes within their concentration. So you have plenty of space to take classes from really whatever department you want. I took a lot of electives in women and gender studies, psychology, folklore and mythology, and a whole bunch of other fun disciplines that I got to learn a little bit about. Harvard also has a mandatory general education program in which students take classes that fall into a variety of core disciplines that Harvard deems necessary for a well-rounded liberal arts education. These disciplines include aesthetics and culture, ethics and civics, history, societies, individuals, and science and technology and society. Plus, students must take a mandatory freshman writing course called XPOS and demonstrate some competency in a foreign language. Gen Ed classes, as students call them, are a great opportunity to step outside your concentration, remember that's your major, and further your knowledge about topics that interest you. One of my Gen Ed classes was called Fairy Tales and Fantasy Literature. It was a very fun class in which we read a variety of children's stories and seriously analyzed their moral underpinnings. Class sizes at Harvard, as they do at most liberal arts schools, range from huge introductory lectures of several hundred students to really tiny seminars with only a handful. For instance, I used to walk from a large psychology lecture given by a world-renowned psychological ethicist to a cozy classroom where 4 other students and I spent 2 hours with an enormously accomplished professor and the former chair of Harvard's sociology department. So really a large range of that class size experience. Classes at Harvard are rigorous, and the transition to a college schedule is as difficult at Harvard as it is for students at almost every college. Suddenly being graded on just a few assignments or even just 1 or 2 exams a semester is a pretty big adjustment for most people. However, I want to dispel a common myth that Harvard has an extremely competitive academic environment. Of course, Harvard is difficult to get into as a high schooler, but I'm talking about what it's like when you're actually there as a matriculated student on campus. While some Harvard students may feel more academic pressure than others, particularly those in the pre-med program or smaller STEM departments, Harvard is actually not that competitive academically. To be honest, Harvard has rampant grade inflation, so many people receive A's and A-minuses, which means there's honestly not a ton of competition to be the best, and most people are just looking to get along and learn together in a really collaborative environment. Many students regard extracurriculars as a more impactful part of their Harvard experience than academic classes, and that was certainly the case for me. For all the hours I spent in class and doing homework every week, I spent much more time participating in extracurriculars. Extracurriculars serve as sources of social connection, sources of internships, and teach you concrete professional skills that you just wouldn't gain in most Harvard classes because they're so liberal arts focused. There are literally hundreds of extracurriculars at Harvard. Students interested in business, for example, often join the Harvard College Consulting Group, which is called HCCG, where they work on real consulting projects for real top companies. Those with a knack for jokes join the Harvard Lampoon, which has historically produced many Saturday Night Live writers and top comedians. Some people play in one of Harvard's many bands or orchestral ensembles, or sing in one of the many a cappella groups on campus. There are recruited athletes for Harvard's 42 Division I athletics teams, but many non-recruited students devote time to club athletics that still allow them to travel and compete with other schools in a pretty intense athletic environment. I spent many hours each week at the Institute of Politics, which is a world-renowned center for political speakers and other political programming. I also directed an incubator program for high school students' social entrepreneurship ideas. So, as you can see, really a range of things you can do at Harvard. Though extracurriculars provide a lot of the social opportunities for Harvard students, there are also final clubs and fraternities or sororities to participate in. Final clubs are historic, selective Harvard institutions that function a little bit like fraternities and sororities. There's an annual punch process to be inducted, and the clubs host parties and other social events throughout the academic year. Harvard also does have traditional frats and sororities, but only a small number, and honestly, final clubs are really the dominant social force on campus, not Greek life. While students don't often get outside of the Harvard bubble because they're really busy with academics and extracurriculars and have plenty of fun opportunities to socialize on campus, it is true that downtown Boston is only a 20-minute subway ride away from campus. Harvard Square, which is the neighborhood right around campus, also provides shopping opportunities and favorite restaurants like Felipe's for late-night burritos and Pinocchio's or Noak's for even later night pizza on all those Fridays and Saturday nights. So let's talk about your career when you go to Harvard. Harvard offers unprecedented opportunity to gain internships in your field of choice and to springboard into really any career you can dream up. Harvard's Office of Career Services provides near constant programming to evaluate your career interests and to locate internships or other experiences to learn more about the field that you're interested in and make connections. The Harvard Alumni Network is also a huge asset for finding your way into a career. Many alumni are more than willing to help younger students get internships or full-time job offers after graduation, which is a great way to explore a lot of possibilities. Many students at Harvard don't actually go work professionally in the field of their concentration. For instance, among students who go into consulting or finance, which is a major career path out of Harvard, many did not study economics. My career interests were actually more driven by my extracurriculars, politics and startups, than my academic pursuits. My sociology degree isn't directly related to what I do right now in business, but it provided a framework for analyzing problems that I make use of every single day, so it's still really helpful in my career. So this was a summary of what it's like to attend Harvard, and I hoped it helped to provide an inside look. Remember that we're publishing many of these videos with our colleagues from universities around the country, so tune in to learn more about a wide variety of schools that you might be interested in. Subscribe to our channel to stay up to date, and also don't forget to visit the links below in the video's description for more information about applying to Harvard, including our best advice for getting into an Ivy League school. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your admissions journey.